Okay, so it's 11 o'clock. People will be coming in, but I'm going to start now. So, yeah, so Tuesday, right, the center closed early, so I wasn't able to do this class in the center, but hopefully some people from my center's class will come today. If not, this is getting recorded. So today's class is going to be talking about scams on the focus on tax scams because it is tax season. Some of you already probably have done your taxes, which is fine. This can be, information that you can relate to friends or family, or just have it in mind for other scams, right? Because sometimes the same rules apply for other type of scams, or have it in mind for next season, right? So we're gonna go over like usually some scams that happen during this time, some things to look out for, and different like tips. So every year, right, scammers are targeting taxpayers for different fraudulent schemes. And with these type of scams that we'll go over today, they do lead to financial loss and even identity theft. So this presentation today is going to cover common tax scams, some warning signs, tips, and then last page will have resources that you can write down of different like websites that you can contact to report a scam that you may have encountered. And then, of course, if you have any questions, right, you can unmute yourself or say it in the chat or, raise your hand on Zoom. So these are some common tax scams that happen during this time. And we're going to go over each of them. I have two examples that we're going to look at as well. And so we're going to go over each one. So the first one is IRS impersonation scams. So that's mostly when somebody calls you or emails you pretending that they are the IRS and they're demanding for payment. And we're going to look at an email, like a fake IRS email, and we'll go over that as well. Other times, right, phishing emails and fake websites. So we want to be aware of any fake websites or messages pretending to be from the IRS. So I'm also going to have an example of that. And sometimes with these scams, right, they also talk about how um you either falsely filed your taxes wrong, so you need to like complete the form again, so they try to contact you that way. Or sometimes they promise you to settle any debt that you have, but there is a charge. So then that's how they start stealing your credit or debit card information or get into your bank account. So we're just going to talk about each of these, how we look out for them, and some examples that have happened to others that I found online that I'm going to share with you guys. So this one is a really good one. There's a lot of text on the page, but I'm going to explain it very slowly, and you guys could, talk to as well if you have any questions. But in an IRS impersonation scam, right? A scammer might pose to be someone from the IRS and they may say a badge number as well as your 4 digits of your social security. And I get a lot of questions from people that always ask me, well, how can, a scammer know my social security? How will they have that information? Because usually when someone says your last 4 digits of your social security, that's what gets you nervous. That's what makes you think, okay, they are a legitimate person from the IRS, right? So there's three ways of how a scammer can get your social security, or not your full social security, but your 4 digits of the social security. So if this does happen to you, right, unfortunately, it is still a scammer, and it doesn't mean that the person is, someone really from the IRS or someone really from your bank or so on. So the first way someone can get your social security is through a data breach. So if your company, if you're, do any business with any company, right? So there's data breaches all the time for different types of companies. For CVS, Walmart, those are just some examples, right? Let's say you had an email with them or you made purchases with them. Anytime a company has a data breach and you purchased under that company or made an account with that company, hackers may have access partial or full of your social security, including the last four digits. So that's why sometimes when you get the letter, an email that says, your account or your name or so on has been part of a data breach, they're giving you that warning because your social security may have been part of that data breach. Other times, right, public records and leaks. So through these type of data breaches, right, some of our personal information can be, available through documents, credit reports, or even the dark web. So when a company does go and gets the information leaked or the data breach leaked, we are part of the millions of people under that data breach where our information may have been sent to the dark web. So really intelligent scammers will go into the dark web to try to see if any or partial of our social security has been shown to them so they can use it in phone calls and text messages or emails or so on. And then lastly, if you know for sure you never got a letter in the mail about a data breach or a data leak or anything like that, the last way they could try to get your social security is through guessing based on patterns. So the first five digits of a social security number are often based on where we live or where we were born, when we were born, or where we were born. So if a scammer has that information, they may be able to figure out the last four digits through trial and error. They might use a computer to figure out different combinations and patterns to then on the phone say, oh, we have your social security. Is this so and so? And they find it out that way. And in terms of like, how do they know our name, right? Well, there's many ways someone can know our name, from public records to having an email address they can get for us very easily. So anybody have any questions on this slide? Okay, I don't see anybody. All right. So this is just, for next time, if someone talks to you or something and they say, well, they can't get your social security, that's impossible, that has to be the IRS or that has to be the real person calling you, you can let them know, well, there are times where scammers can get our last four digits, and then these are the reasons that you can relate to them of how someone has obtained the social security. So another thing that I want to address now are email frauds, right? How do they get to us through email? So I say this all the time in our classes for any type of scams, when I just do general scams. But anytime you get an email and you believe that it's a scam, or you may believe it's from the real company, you have to look at the email address. The email address is going to let you know right away if that is truly the person that is from that company. So right away, if we look at this example on the screen, in red is circled what their email address is, right? And it says irs@getrefundnow.com. But an IRS email address will always have the irs.gov. It wouldn't be getrefundnow.com. It would be irs at or gov.com, right? So, and this applies to any company. If it's Amazon emailing you, it would be at amazon.com. If it's Chase, it would be at Chase, right? It would always have their domain at the ending. Any company would never email you with a Gmail, with a Yahoo, with an AOL. Um, every company that's very well known. So if we think of Apple, we think of Amazon, you think of your favorite places you shop at, they always use their official domain or their company's name at the ending of the email address. And this rules apply to the same as the IRS. So even though you see this and they have their IRS logo, they have the blue font, they have a link that you can click on. All of that can be created by a scammer, right? Anybody can go online and say, what is the IRS logo, and attach it to their email and make it look fancy. But what they can do is ever change their email. They can never have an email address that's officially from the IRS. So for any scam, right, always look at the email address at the top and say, who is this coming from? And that will let you know right away without even looking at the rest of the email that it's a scam. Any questions on that from anybody? Okay, we're going on to the next slide. So the next one is text message scams, and same rule apply, right? You could have scammers that are text messaging you for through the IRS through a text message. So this is something that I never really made a slide about, but it's also another kind of tip or trick that I want you guys to learn, because I think this will also apply to any type of scam you may encounter. So when you receive text messages from a brand, from a company, so UPS, Amazon, let's say you have a package coming from a specific company that you ordered, right? Any of those companies, right? You will notice that if they send you a text message like your appointment is on this day, or your package is coming in 2 days, look out for it, whatever. They may send you a generic message, or you got money or something like that, whatever it may be. You will always notice that at the top they do not use the same type of number that your friends and families do. This is because businesses use their own dedicated short code to help them. So anytime a company or brand texts you, it is always going to be a short code. So next time, if you do get text messages from your bank, so let's say anybody here today sends money to their family members or friends, you get like text messages from your bank that that transaction went through. So I do that all the time with Chase, right? So at the top, it's always a short 5-digit code. And I know it's legitimate because of that short code. Same thing applies to UPS. If I really know UPS is texting me, it's because it has a dedicated short code. And only official brands or companies are able to do this. If you see a regular number, that's like a 307, 347, 646 number, 917, right? You can right away throw that text message in the garbage, because companies and brands will only use a 5 to 6 digit code to text you. So the next time you get a text message and you think it's the IRS, you think it's UPS, you think it's the New York State telling you about a parking or tax toll that you missed or something like that, look at the top and see who is texting you. And if it's a long number, like a 646 or 917, right away you could just throw it in the garbage can, delete it, swiping it to the left or right, or holding it down to delete it. So in this example here, you can see that someone thought they got a text message from the IRS about they were eligible to receive some money, $1,400. But if you look at my slide, right, I circled what was the number coming from. And it was a regular phone number, a 307, which is whatever, I don't know what state that's from, but that was the example that I found online. And right away, we can know that it's a fake text. Of course, IRS will never text you, right? And that's usually what all scam presentations tell you. But I'm trying to give you other tips and tricks to look out for. So instead of you giving you the generic presentation of just saying, well, the IRS is never going to text you, so that's fake. These are some other things to look out for, which is one, always at the top of the screen, a company, organization, a brand will never text you using a regular phone number. It will be a code, a short code. Any questions on that from anybody?
Really helpful information. Thank you.
You're
Tabitha, it's interesting because in the last number of weeks, we have gotten two text messages, and they said they were from the New York toll, and that I had a violation of toll to pay.
right.
And it was no way, and it had to be paid. I remember one of them was February 28th. And there was no way I could have had that. I just deleted it. But now it's really helpful for me to know if something like that comes again, to look for that code, because
Yeah.
I don't think it had a code. I think it had some kind of an email address. But I just knew that the thing was a fraud and I deleted it. But
Right, of course.
that's very helpful information you just gave.
Well, you're welcome. So yeah, Naomi's correct. There was like this whole scam going on. I even got that text message about to pay unpaid tolls or something. I didn't even have a car. So I already know that that's fake for me. Right? So
Bicycle.
um but yes, that was a scam going around in New York for New York numbers. But like Naomi said, yes, sometimes it may not be a number at the top. It could be an email address, but even that you can disregard. So if it's an email address or if it's a number, right, those are still scammers. It's usually going to be a 5 to 6 digit code at the top of the screen. And once again, even if it is an email address, like I said in the previous slide, make sure then it's at the company's name. So it should have been then at newyorkgov.com or at New York State tolls or whatever it may be. And not just a random at AOL, at iCloud, because a company will never email you with a regular email address that we all use. So that's also good to know. So some scam tactics, right? So those were some really good tips and tricks to look out for, right? But here are some other things that you also want to look out for in cases that maybe you do pick up the phone or you do read the text message and don't delete it right away. These are some other tactics that they may try to get through with you. So one, right, we already went over the unexpected call or email, which is claiming to be from the IRS. And I showed you an example of that email and I showed you an example of that text message. But if you do, for some reason, stay on the phone with them, right? Some things that they might tell you is they might threaten you to arrest you, deport you, or take legal action for any payments, right? Another thing that they may do is request for payment through gift cards, right? So I see this a lot of times. The scammer wants you to buy a gift card in a store, right? So then once you buy the gift card, they can't really trace you, right? They can't trace your accounts because everything is like under your name and not the scammer's name. So you're the one that's paying for the gift card and not the scammer. So everything falls back on you. So they might ask you for buy a gift card and everything will be okay, and we'll get your money back or something like that, they may say. Cryptocurrency, right? So those are like Bitcoin, and that gets a bit complicated. I would just hang up the phone right away. And wire transfers, right? They may ask for your bank account information. Okay, we went over the emails or text, and then taxpayers, right? Most of the time during this season, what gets people a lot is that they're promising you that you will get a refund, a large refund, if you do these steps with them. And, it's always good to just go over this because unfortunately, it really does happen to people. Billions of people, not billions, sorry, millions of people in, different age groups, especially the older adult population, do get involved with these type of scams. So even if this is just a refresher for you, it's always just good to repeat this over and over, or just tell your friends and family members, these are the scam tactics. Just hang up the phone. If it's a phone call, you could always just hang it up. And with the emails and the text, right, you can always put them in the trash. But I will have resources in the next few slides of who you can forward your emails to. So then you can report them officially. So, hopefully they can track down that person. So it's always, it's fine to just delete it, but if let's say you were involved with that fraud and they did take some money, it's always good to report, the action to get them in trouble. So once again, like everyone will tell you in every scam presentation, but I decided to give you the tricks in the beginning. But just to overview it, right? The IRS is never going to initiate any phone call, any email, or any text, right? You should be the first person that reaches out to them, and then that communication will start. So you will be the one that calls them, you will be the one that emails them, right? But they are never going to reach out to you and say, hi, good morning. This is the IRS, this is my badge number, and this is your social security. Because once again, they could know your social security scammers through the examples that I gave you. They can know your name, your first and last name through public records, phone books, social media accounts. So unfortunately, we do live in a world where our first and last name is out there, right? From anything, from creating an email address, from signing up for a Walmart or CVS account, anything, right? So scammers can have that information on file. So just because someone tells you over the phone that they know your name doesn't mean that they're really from the IRS or from any type of scam company. Always verify communications by calling the IRS directly. So you can always hang up the phone and you can call IRS back directly, right? You can say, hi, I just received a phone call. Was this you? And they can verify right away if they called you or not. So sometimes, people get scared over the phone and they don't want to hang up because they think they might get in trouble, right? But no, you could always hang up the phone and call the official number back. If you haven't done your taxes yet, right, always use a reputable tax preparers and check for their credentials. So try to do research. I'm sure people here today may have someone that does their taxes or does their taxes themselves, but try not to just go online and pick anybody. Please do your research if you haven't done your taxes already. There's also a lot of free resources through AARP where they can give you different tools of how to do your taxes and reputable websites. I've used that website So, because my mom is under AARP, so I also have a membership with AARP. So I've used their tools and resources to do my taxes this season. So you can also go through their website. Don't just go on Google and find anybody. And this is for anybody or for your friends and family members that you may know. Tell them to go to AARP if they haven't found someone to do their taxes or if they don't know how to. Always file your taxes early to prevent fraudsters from filing in your name. So sometimes scammers might try to use data breaches or data leaks to find people who haven't filed their taxes yet and try to file under your name. So the earlier is the better. But I don't know how accurate that could be. So you don't, take my word on that bullet point. But it is better to at least do your taxes before, that due date. Don't wait till after the due date, of course, because that might get you in trouble with different fraudsters. And then lastly, right, never click on any links. So if we went back on the slide to let's see. So yeah, if we went back to this slide and I gave it a circle, right? Let's say you didn't know the trick to look at their email address and see if it's really from at irs.gov or anything like that. Let's say you didn't know that trick. Well, first off, right, these links are not legitimate links. So, all right, here I just circled, give it an arrow. These links are most likely going to take you to a fraud website. So a website that looks identical to the IRS where you think you are filling out your taxes, but it's just a fake website to give the hacker your information, or the link itself would just lead to a virus on your computer where a scammer can take control of your computer from their end and they can remotely access all your files on your computer. So that's why it's very important to not click on any suspicious links on your email address if you do not know it's really from the IRS. So if you don't know those tips or tricks, I would recommend first talking then to a friend or family member and asking them what their opinion is on the email. Or of course, you can forward the email to the IRS or to any scam company that looks into and investigates, which I will have that information shortly if you don't have any family members or friends to discuss and ask you for help. But please do not click on any links that you see, especially if you do not know if it's from that legitimate company. Any questions? Okay. So this is some good information for everybody here today. So what do you do if you're targeted, right? So one, if you receive a call, like I've said, please hang up immediately, right? And you can actually do many things if you are targeted, even if you didn't give them any money, even if you didn't engage with that email or text, right? It's always good to report it so then the next person down the line doesn't get scammed or in trouble, right? So you can report that impersonation scam to the Treasurer Inspector General for Tax Administration, or short, the TIGTA. You can put that into Google and it can give you a contact for them. Or very easily, if you get an email that is from a fake IRS, you can forward the email to phishing@irs.gov, and then they can try to, investigate who that person is that's scamming others, report them, block them, ban them from their email domain. They can do many things with that. So if you know someone who did receive a fake IRS email this season, let them know about this email address so they can forward their email to them. And if they already put it in the trash, you can still forward an email in your trash, in your trash of your emails. Also check any tax transcript at the irs.gov. So the irs.gov is going to have many resources as well in terms of scams. Most of the things that I did put on this presentation was through the official IRS. They will even have like phone recordings or calls of how an IRS scammer would interact with you over the phone. They have some recordings online that you can also check out. And then lastly, if unfortunately you did engage with the scammer and you did give them your personal information, your credit card, your bank, right away, call your bank and place a fraud alert on your credit report, on your bank, on your cards, right? To make sure that they do not steal your identity and continue to take out money from your accounts. That's always the first thing to do. And then you can report them to phishing, to the TIGTA after. But if you didn't engage with them and you just received the text, you can also, let's say you got a text message, you can also screenshot that text message and send it to an email as well to phishing@irs.gov. Does anybody have questions on that? Okay, so this is just the last slide here today. I put some resources for help. In case you unfortunately were part of a scam or you received a scam and you don't know what to do with it, you don't know who to send it to, right? So the first thing, of course, is the official IRS website. If you look closely, it says irs.gov, right? So well-known organizations within our government will not have .com. They will have .gov. And that is also very, very important in terms of scam. So once again, let's go back to this important slide. If you clicked on this link and they sent you to their fake website, it would probably be www.irs.com, com. But official government websites never have .com. It's always .gov. So that's another tip and trick. So now you have many tips and tricks before you get scammed, what to look out for. Sorry for those who were probably writing things down on the slide. I'm gonna keep it up. Right, the Federal Trade Commission is also .gov, www.ftc.gov. There's a hotline, FTC. I need to get the official number because I don't know why I did it in like that. And then also, right, AARP actually has articles on their website that will tell you about any different types of frauds that are happening, especially in your area or in the USA. So I'm pretty sure they did an article about the tolls scams that was happening. I saw a news report on that actually, so I'm sure ARP also had a different fraud watch article on that as well. So there's many resources that you can use in terms of scams, not just for scams tax season, but for any type of scams that you may be involved or may encounter. These are the best places to go to, especially for older adults. Any questions from anybody today?
That was very helpful. I just took some screenshots of the different slides that you put up.
Yes.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say too. Screenshots are great.
Can you go back one so we see what you said about the credit card or
Hold on. Yeah, I said like if you do, hold on. I think it's this one. Is this one, Alicia?
was the one right before that? It said,
Yeah, this one.
okay.
Yeah, you could, if you're using like an iPad or a computer, right? You can take a picture with your phone or you can screenshot it with your phone.
Oh, on your credit report, do it.
Yeah, your credit report.
Right. Thank you.
So yeah, those are all the tips and tricks I have. Does anybody have any, thoughts or anything else you want to say or?
Just very helpful information.
You're welcome. So yeah, this is, we didn't reach the full hour, but these are going to be, the best ways to help you in terms of any scams that you may get during this tax season, next tax season, or just in general.
Yeah,
In terms of like artificial intelligence, right? I'll try to do more presentations on that and how AI is going to influence scams in the future. But
right.
for right now, these are going to be the best tricks because not every scammer uses AI. They're still using these tactics. So just look out for everything I said today about the texting and the codes and the email addresses.
Thank you, Tabitha.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so thank you guys. And I'll see you again next Thursday.
Thank you, Tabitha.
Thank you, Tabitha.
Thank you, Tabitha.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Peace out.